Hey guys, got a pretty cool gun to do a video on. This is a KRYTAC LVOA in Wolf Gray. Now, there's something special about this gun. It's not a V12. It's not even a fusion engine. It's not a Polar Star Jack. It's not a crappy Wolverine. It's a Polar Star F2. So, these recently just came out, probably about 4 or 5 months ago. I think it was right before SHOT Show, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was after. I think it was after. But I got my hands on one. This is Jonah's. He is the same guy that owns this one too. This is the V12. I already have a video of this. So if you've watched it, you probably recognize it. He owns this as well. He also owns a KRYTAC SPR. It's the longer version. It's not a short version. That's the CRB, sorry. Getting them confused. And that one has a Polar Star Fusion engine, so he has 3 HPA guns, which is pretty freaking cool. And they're all different: V12, Fusion engine, and then F2. So obviously the F2 is very similar to the Fusion engine, but it's obviously a different engine itself. So pretty impressed with it overall. I've had no issues with it. As far as the rate of fire, I couldn't get it quite as high as I wanted. Me and him wanted. I can't get 40, but I'm getting pretty close. So let's just start from the back. So this was a KRYTAC LVOA base. In fact, he bought it brand new. So it's basically almost all stock on the outside. But yeah, standard stock. It's even got the sticker on it there still. A wolf gray body. Got rid of the ambidextrous feature. You can keep that if you want. You can keep the ambidextrous feature. But he's like, I don't care. It honestly lags it up a little bit. It's a lot smoother without it. And the same thing with the CRB here. The selector switch without the one on the other side. It's just smoother, easier to manipulate, and obviously you can't, with the V12, you can't do the ambi, but this you have the option, but he just didn't want it, so I was like, it's just honestly not worth spending the time to line up all the gears and get that to work properly. So yeah, pretty much standard body, LVOA trademarks, pretty cool. The body's very good quality, no wobble whatsoever. The rail system on here, this is the LVOA S, I think. No, this can't be the LVOA S. I think this is the full length one. I think the S has a shorter rail and shorter barrel, if I'm not mistaken. I've held both of them, but it's so hard to tell, honestly. They're so similar. The rail is gray with the body, which is pretty cool. It just all matches. But kind of hefty, kind of a front-heavy gun, honestly. There's a lot of weight up front. The rail's not really, actually it is modular, so it's got threads all up and down, left, right, and bottom, and then the built-in rail on the top. He didn't bring the original box, so I think it comes with 1 or 2 rail segments, but basically what you can do is you can do a flashlight, you can put a grip on here if you want, but you can't do it angled like a key mod, because there's these slots here. So it limits you just a little bit, but most of the time people don't do the weird angles anyways with flashlights and stuff. Some people do, but with this rail I guess you just can't. The suppressor on here, it says, with great power comes great responsibility. Irresponsibility. And it's got the Deadpool logo, so it's pretty cool. I've never seen that before. This is actually a longer version of the GMP suppressors, GMP OEM. They call them Matrix. They're just GMP OEM. Negative and positive thread on this suppressor. And it's longer, as you can see. It starts right here, ends right here. Normally they end like right here. So this is the longer version. I did foam fill it. And if I put a spring in there too, just to hold everything together. Because with these suppressors, I foam filled them before, and sometimes the foam literally shoots out of the end, which is not good. So you don't get the suppressing effect. Because this foam's literally coming out of the end of the suppressor. And obviously your BBs will hit it and cause all sorts of issues. So with the spring, it basically holds it together. It's just an AEG spring that I cut to size to the length of the suppressor, and it works totally fine. As far as internals, it's got a KRYTAC, it's got a Pro 1 hop-up, KRYTAC stock inner barrel. It's got a Prometheus purple bucking that's been modified for flat hop that I took off the nub, and then I Sugru hopped the barrel. So it's not a flat hop, it's a Sugru hop. So I do that with a lot of my guns. It's basically a poor man's R-hop. It's pretty much what it is. So all my HPA guns have that. It just increases range, accuracy, and consistency overall. You know, with bucking, sometimes you can have issues with consistency and such. So, yeah, Pro-Win stock KRYTAC barrel that's been Subaru hopped with a Promi purple bucking that's been modified for the Subaru hop or R-hop, or it could even be used with a flat hop, but it's just Subaru hopped to get a little bit better performance. Now, the SPR that he has is flat hop, just straight up flat hop, and it shoots fantastic. 200 feet with .3 is easy. This one has just a Lonex 50-degree bucking. That's it. Stock barrel, stock Pro-Win. Not a stock hop-up. It used to have a stock hop-up. It's got the Pro-Win stock barrel and just a Lonex 50. No flat hop, no special Subaru hop or R-hop. And it shoots pretty good. But that's kind of his indoor gun because it's shorter. So that's, you know, you're not going to need as much range off that. I think he also plans on using this indoor occasionally, which I agree with. It runs CQB FPS totally fine. It's kind of, you know, longer, but it's not a big deal. Sometimes you'll hit the end of your barrel on a wall. It's not too big of a deal. It's just a game, you know. Okay, as far as the internals on the engine, so the F2 is stock, totally stock F2. Very, very efficient, very, very consistent. I am very happy with the F2 overall. It does come with a wide bore nozzle. These nozzles that are in these F2s are wide bore. There's no doubt about that. It's very wide bore, and so I think that's partly why it gets a higher FPS. So it's almost like a Fusion engine with a red nozzle, basically out of the box, because that's comparable. Because a Fusion engine or a V12 out of the box with a red nozzle, stock poppet, would probably shoot 350 at 60 psi like this. This does a really good job at feeding at low PSI and functioning fine. The V12s and Fusion engines with the dual solenoids in those, they take a little bit more air. Sometimes they don't feed at lower PSI, depends on your regulator and all that sort of stuff. But this one I can confirm runs really, really low. So there's really no other internals on the F2. It's stock. I did put a Retro Arms trigger in here. It's red. And the trigger pull is incredibly short. Literally couldn't be any shorter. This is, and I get DMs on Instagram all the time and messages on or comments on my YouTube in the comment section on videos. And over people will say, what kind of trigger do you have to get that, you know, speed on semi-auto? Or, you know, what can I buy? What trigger do I have to have? Or people say, wow, that's a fast trigger. It's not the trigger that gets you the speed. It's not the trigger. I've said that multiple times to people. It's so cringy when people message me and say, what trigger do you have to get that speed? It's not the trigger that gets the speed. Honestly, it's the trigger pull. Obviously, the length of the pull helps. This does not come out of the box with this trigger pull. With this tiny trigger pull, I can't stress that enough. The amount of people that think that, oh, it's the trigger. I bought the trigger and dropped it in, and the trigger is made to be this short. No, you have to fine-tune these things. There's two pieces of plastic on two different parts of the trigger that make it so that the trigger can't go back too far, and it can't go forward too far. So it basically eliminates the play. If I dropped this trigger straight into here, the trigger pull would be really, really long, just like any stock trigger. The trigger literally makes no difference. The Retro Arms triggers are just patterned after the standard curved trigger, so it would do the same pull pretty much. The triggers that do come with a shorter pull are the speed triggers with the adjustable screws. That's the same concept as this, adjusting the screws so it doesn't have play this way or that way. So that is basically the poor man's, or the person that doesn't know how to tech. That is, they buy that and, you know, get the same performance of this. But this is fine-tuned, and Jonah, the guy that owns this gun, watched me do everything. I spent probably an hour and a half, you know, putting the engine in, test firing it, shortening the trigger pull, all those sort of things. Let's go ahead and put it through the chrono here. Got some .2s in here with a really crappy mag, so it's misfeeding. 347, 346, it's skipping every other round. 346, 345, 344, 344, 344, 346. So 345, very, very, very consistent on FPS. It's skipping every other round, that's okay. So 2 shots equals 1 pretty much, which is fine just for this. It's 1.11 joules, 345, so this is where he's going to run because it does shoot 37 rounds a second. So again, higher rate of fire, lower FPS. For outdoor. Indoor, he can obviously run the same PSI, 345 indoor legal. Alright, let's go ahead and test 2 5s. 326, 329, 329, 330, 326, 325, 325, 324, 323, 325. It's 1.23 joules, so it obviously went up. That's where he's going to run it. 26.86, 327 FPS. 326. Sorry, 328 FPS. 26.88 rounds a second, so almost 27. That's pretty much what I said. .35 still pretty cap. Now you can get a short burst on somebody. You know, those are 3-4 BBs. Some people are like, oh, with high rate of fire, I don't want to get hit with that many BBs. If somebody's like close, and you do use full auto, which I really don't, but like 50 feet, short burst, you know, you got him. Like, no reason to get it bent out of shape. See it? Nice pollen in the air. If you have any other questions or anything, let me know. It's a pretty cool gun.